Welcome back to another edition of Story Behind the Music. I'm Darren Story, sitting here once again as we continue the journey through time with the Little Red Corvette, Mi-Ling Stone Poole. She is with me, and we have another guest, someone that I am also acquainted with, which is always fun, and we were former label mates as well, and I consider him a very, very good friend. The founder of the Sounds of Blackness, Gary Hines. Mi-Ling, Gary, how are y'all doing?
I'm good.
Hey, blessed with all. When I grow up, I still want to be like you, D.
Okay, King. Okay, King Gary.
No, my brother. No, I want to be like you.
He's the only man, Darren, that ever called me a queen. So, I got a special place in my heart for him. But then I found out he calls all the women queens.
You see, there's only one Queen Mi-Ling.
Oh, thank you.
That is true. She's the only person that I know by that name. So, yeah, there's only one. There's only one.
Right. A.K.A. Fancy Dancer from back in the day. I mean,
Wow. Taking it way back, Gary.
All right, so Gary, thanks for joining us, and we just want to take a few minutes to kind of establish some things. Gary, been a part of the Minneapolis music scene for a very, very long time, and you and Mi-Ling, you guys go back. Tell me about your encounter with her the first time. How did you guys first come in contact back when she was, a child, so to speak? Probably somewhere she shouldn't have been or whatever. Tell us about that.
Right. A teenager, who was then, as she is now, extraordinarily beautiful, extraordinarily talented, and that did not escape the attention of the Minneapolis scene at all, especially, but not limited to, but especially in the club scene, where I would be working, and there would always be a huge buzz, even before Mi-Ling arrived, and she was known not only for her astonishing beauty and personality, but also as an amazing dancer, hence the nickname Fancy Dancer. And at a given night, on a club, whether it was, Fox Trap downtown Minneapolis, or wherever it might be, after a while, if Mi-Ling wasn't on the scene yet, the question would arise, where's Fancy Dancer? Hey, you seen that? You think she's coming tonight? So there was anticipation, my brother. Her reputation, in a very positive way, preceded her.
Wow. I didn't know all that.
Oh, yeah, I was on the scene. So this is not something I read about or heard. I was there. So, I'm a witness.
Yeah, you were there. And people may not know that, Darren, that Gary was a bodybuilder. And so I may have seen him at Lake Calhoun even before I saw him in the clubs, because he was a bouncer and nobody messed with Gary. And whenever I had problems with guys, which I did a lot, there literally was a line,
Yeah.
When Prince talks about pocket full of horses, Trojans, there was a line of men waiting to dance with me. And
that's a true story.
Is that a true story, Gary?
That's definitely a true story. Like I said, I was on the scene firsthand, and it's something because speaking of the Fox Trap, which was the preeminent club at the time, there'd be a line to get into the Fox Trap, and then sometimes as crowded as the dance floor would be, and with the fan club Mi-Ling had, that's whether or not she was aware of the extent of it, they'd be jostling for position, man, just to be able to dance with her or have the opportunity to dance with her.
I did not know. I didn't know.
I just had this visual of men standing in line, getting turned out by Fancy Dancer on the dance floor. That had to been an epic night at the Fox Trap. Where
they didn't call it the Fox Trap for nothing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, my time in Minneapolis was a little after that, but I know the club scene was amazing when we were there. But so, Gary, I mean, we talked about you were a bouncer, and did anybody know you were a musician too?
I think many of them did, not all. In fact, speaking of double-duty musicians, this is what it was like, speaking especially of the foxtrot beat. I'll tell you who else was on the scene, and if I'm to think of it, Jimmy Jam was serious club DJ, which you probably already knew that about me.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, so, and not only, was he a great DJ, and probably still is, but what he would do, and I'm sure Mi-Ling remember this, he would bring his keyboard. You know how most DJs, well, all DJs will bring their turntable and, all their tracks and so forth. But along with that, Jam would bring his keyboard, hook it up into the system, and jam along with and put some extra flavor. Oh, I mean,
that's dope.
Really crazy. So, him, and what his bass lines are like, especially.
Oh, yeah. Funky.
So, yeah, man. So it was like that.
I remember Jimmy, I think, from Hallie Q Brown or something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All of it, I mean.
That was way before, wasn't it? Like when I was probably 15, 16. And Kyle was there most of the time when I was there. It was crazy, the sirens and the smoke and just the whole thing, the pimps.
Oh, my God.
The Excaliburs.
Oh, my.
Excaliburs parked out front. And then, of course, around closing time, folks will be hungry, and here come the wingman.
I know, with the greasy bags, right?
With the greasy bag, but everybody would buy them. So it was a whole lot.
Between that and Art Songs, that's where Jimmy and Terry are talking about chicken wings,
Hey,
Art Songs is still on point, by the way.
I know it.
Oh, yeah. It was just so culturally rich, man. And it's amazing because you hear about something like that, and you associate that with, now, of course, I'm a native New Yorker, and so people hear something like that is that culturally rich and all that going on, and you think of Chicago, you think of Kansas City, you think of L.A., Detroit, New York, whatever kind of thing, Atlanta.
That's right.
But what happens, they don't think of that in terms of Minneapolis because, our black population, especially then, is so comparatively small. But what happens in that scenario is either you get totally absorbed by the general culture, or you become really tight and culturally rich in Minneapolis. Because people wonder, how does this Minneapolis, where did all this music jump off of? Jazz, blues, gospel, Prince,
right.
James Lewis. And so it was culturally rich all the time. And I think coming back to the club, it was a scene. It might as well have been Harlem, because we grew up in there, and the music, the dance, the clothes, the hairstyles. The vibe, man, was just off the chain.
And I really love clothes. I used to come in there sometimes.
Yeah.
I know I gave Prince a heart attack a couple times. Remember that Chinese dress I had with the red with the slits all the way up to the hips? And then I had my little bodysuit underneath, and that was what I would use for like dance contests and stuff. I was in another world sometimes, and then sometimes I'd be conservative.
This is a family show. This is a family show, man.
I'm just saying. Gary knows. Gary, remember the little pillbox hats I would wear with the lace gloves?
In the words of Nat King Cole, unforgettable.
Oh, yeah, it was a really.
What's so funny that outfit that you just described? Not only is it vividly imprinted in my imagination, and it would be in yours too, Dee, trust me.
I have a picture.
But not only is it that, but the other thing about it, and just some props to you, Mi-Ling, when you look at, Rihanna, some of the artists now, you were, like years before your time, because that's how some of them are jumping off now.
Yeah, and, I used to buy a lot of stuff from the secondhand store, thrift shop,
right.
And then the high end. So I mixed it up. And that's why when people talk about, Prince and Vanity Six and the gloves and the shoot, I walked in the Foxtrot one time. I had on a slip, Gary, a black slip. And everybody was like, "Oh, that's a pretty dress." It was a black slip.
Well, you could have been the inspiration about
with pearls,
the camisole. Yes.
Oh, I wore camisoles. Yeah. Gary can attest to that. I wore camisoles with my Bill Blass blazer and jeans.
That's a true story.
Yeah, so I don't know where Prince got his inspiration, but, because he was in the strip clubs too. But we definitely had it going on. And this was probably before Cyndi Lauper. I don't know. I don't remember when she came out.
Was.
Well, yeah,
before Madonna.
It was way before Madonna and Cyndi Lauper. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We
are on with Mi-Ling Stone Poole and also Gary Hines, the founder and director of the Sounds of Blackness, who, of course, we are excited about a new project. Is there a new single about to drop soon, Mr. Hines?
Yes, there is, my brother. I'm so glad you mentioned it. I am so pleased to announce. In fact, this is the first media interview about it. So thank you, Brother D.
You're welcome.
The end of this month, March 29th, we are releasing a new single called Till I Found You, Sounds of Blackness, produced by none other than Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and featuring none other than Ann Nesby, the late Big Jim Wright, and Sister Lauren Evans, Till I Found You. So it goes to radio March 29th in just literally a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow. I saw Ann's post, and, Ann and I go back, too. I worked with her on projects. She did the Coach Robinson thing for me when he retired. So, when I left, I didn't leave you guys. I kept coming back and trying to stay in touch and help. And people like Ann and you and Jimmy and Terry, I mean, it's so fulfilling as a person who doesn't live there anymore to see you guys. You guys were my inspiration. Always.
Well, you inspired a whole lot of people and in a whole lot of ways. So that's a beautiful thing.
Oh, Gary, I'm so excited about this new album. And, remember how I used to bug you to work with T.C. Ellis? Gary, you and T.C. need to get together. You need to work with them kids. Remember that?
Yeah,
I would bug you. I would bug David. And then I guess y'all got together with the radio station and did royalty. And I was in tears.
Just a couple of years ago. And it was blessed, to be nominated both for two NAACP Image Awards, for Stellar Awards. We were like top 5 at radio. But much more importantly, blessed and anointed to positively impact our youth.
Yes.
When we told them we got a message from above, you ain't no thug, you're royalty, and we got a message just the other day from a group of kindergartners in St. Louis, and I'm sorry I can't remember the name of the school, but they were using that as their graduation theme song.
Aww.
In fact, I will find that and send it. It's the most just heartrending thing that you ever want to hear. These little kids singing in their beautiful children voices. We got a message from above. You ain't no thug. We're royalty. So thank you for that inspiration, Queen Mi-Ling.
Well, I'm sure I didn't I just put it in both y'all's ears, though. I bugged you about it because I knew it would be impactful to work with his kids. And, what you and David have done and you continue to do is carry on the legacy that Prince really started in terms of the worldwide stuff. And really, he wanted to deal with children. It's unfortunate that he didn't get to deal with David's school. But we can keep that going. I cried the first time I went to David's school because the kids he was helping were kids I went to school with their parents. I went to school with their parents.
That's right.
I mean, so I'm very emotional about my hometown and my people. Yeah, and that's why I was a little upset when people were saying, when I kind of finally told people who I was, we never heard of Mi-Ling or Ming-Ling or Ling-Ling. And I said, yeah, but other people have.
That's right.
So
and I think, let me just jump in here real quick, and I think it's important to, and this is why we're doing these segments, that Gary, you know this as well as anybody. There's Prince, 1999, but really Purple Rain, when that happened, changed the game for him and the city. And most people kind of jumped on right then, but they don't realize that there is a Prince like before Purple Rain, the Prince that you guys know, the Afro, doing his thing, played basketball, I mean, all the young man, the young man who was just a local kid trying to make good.